Hello, my cool cats and kittens. It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite TV shows, and today I'm going to do a review on Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. Tiger King is a Netflix original documentary series, and it has been one of the biggest things in 2020 so far, especially during the early stages of not early for me anyways, but early for America. During the early stages of the pandemic for America, Tiger King became a thing and everybody watched it and everybody's talking about it, everybody's memeing about it. And I'm kind of curious as to what it is, but I had a lot of other TV shows to watch. But I finally had the time to watch Tiger King, and it's wow. It's wow. So, yes, this TV show is incredibly overhyped. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's the best thing ever. Oh, it's so crazy." And usually, I don't watch documentaries, let alone documentary series. So, in the beginning of episode 1, I was like, "Okay, so this documentary is about this guy named Joe Exotic. He likes tigers, he likes big cats, and he wants to run a zoo for big cats." And then there's this woman, Carol Baskin. She's sort of like the arch nemesis of Joe Exotic, and she would, she's sort of like the big cats rights woman, except she also runs a zoo with big cats in it in cages, so she's not innocent as well. And the series is kind of like their feud. And then I thought, how is Netflix going to make an 8 episode long series about a feud between two zoo owners and make it interesting? Oh boy, I was wrong, because the story gets so much more complicated, so much messier, so many more people are involved, and there are just so many crazy things that happened in this story. And here's the thing, it's not a story, it's not fiction, it's real, it's true, it's the truth. And I guess it's just amazing. Again, I've never thought I would enjoy a documentary series this much, but here I am talking about it today. One thing about this story that is very intriguing is that not a single person in this story is the hero or is the role model. There isn't a single person in the story who you would root for. Everybody's shady, everybody's not innocent, everybody's evil to a certain degree. Everybody has done things that are bad. I mean, sure, there are a couple of side people. I won't say characters because they're actual real people, like the marketing campaign manager guy with the glasses. I think he's a chill dude. Saf, I mean, she lost an arm. She had to amputate her arm because her arm was being mauled by a big cat, and then immediately a week after she returned to the zoo. That's kind of insane, but other than that, she's a pretty rational person. Rinky was pretty rational as well, but I guess that's all the people I find normal. Everyone else in this story are just insane, dirty, shady, or evil to some sort of degree. And yeah, there are no real winners in the story, not even the animals. Everyone's being harmed, everyone's harming each other, everyone's fighting each other, everyone lost something they find precious, and it's everybody's loss. And this is the story. It really, really fits the title of the documentary, which is Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. I mean, they're not kidding when they say there's murder in the story. There's actually murder in this fucking story. They were running zoos and there were murders happening. Holy shit. So yeah, episode 1 takes things off kind of slowly, but I get it. It's the intro episode, it's the pilot episode. It needs to sort of set the backstory first. We learn the backstory of Joe Exotic, we learn the backstory of Carol Baskin, how they came to be, how Joe Exotic set up a zoo in Oklahoma, and then with Carol Baskin's zoo in Tampa, Florida, and how they have been fighting each other for years and years and years. It's a pretty interesting intro episode, though it is on episode 2 when things start to get risky. Episode 2 is called Cult of Personality, and we in the first half, we learn about this person called Mario Tabro, who's also semi-involved with the whole story in that he used to be in the mafia, and he used to be the role model, the inspiration for Scarface, yet he's, or at least as shown in the documentary, he's one of the most rational zoo owners of the bunch, if not the most, actually. And he would sell these tigers and these lions to Joe Exotic and Doc Antle, who is also one of the biggest zoo owners in southern USA and is also Joe Exotic's friend, also an enemy of Carol Baskin. And then we learn about Doc Antle, who is way smarter, way more well-spoken, and just as dangerous as Joe Exotic, if not more dangerous. The guy is like a cult leader. He would trick young women into working for him, and he would force them to have like breast implants, and he would force those women to live with him, and he would have multiple wives at the same time, which is just gross. And he's dangerous, he's got dirt on everybody as well. And because of that, Joe had 2 husbands at the same time as well, which just adds to the fucked upness of the story. Now, I'm not here to judge people's, romantic beliefs, but I don't support polygamy. I think it sort of defeats the purpose of a marriage and a romantic relationship, but again, whatever suits you, I guess. Episode 3 is amazing. It is honestly amazing, because the entirety of episode 3, whole 45 minutes, is dedicated to one thing, and that is Carol Baskin's past. Now, consider this a minor spoiler alert, but basically, there had been a lot of murder accusations being thrown around on Carol Baskin, saying Carol Baskin had murdered someone. And it's as insane as it gets. And just when I think, okay, the story cannot get more insane, I was wrong. It gets crazier and crazier and crazier, more and more complicated, and it's insane. But the entire episode 3 is about those murder accusations, and man, the documentary goes really in depth on every single possibility that might have happened. Okay, maybe Carol Baskin's innocent. Maybe he actually disappeared. Maybe he vanished. Maybe he got onto a plane. Did the plane crash? Did someone push him off the plane into the Mexican Gulf? Did the plane explode? And then, okay, if he's not on the plane, then is he murdered? If he is murdered, where is his body being hidden? Is it being fed to a meat grinder? Is it under a septic tank? Is this being fed to the tigers? There are so many possibilities being explored in this episode. It's genius how deep and how in-depth the writers, or not writers, but the directors of the show are going to explore this side of the story. And also, again, it's so fucked up. Even if you take away the whole murder aspect of this episode, the fact that Carol and this Don Lewis guy, who's apparently a millionaire, married each other at such a young age. Is this even legal? They married each other at around 19, and apparently that is not Carol's first husband. And then this Don Lewis person is like 20 something years or 30 something years older than Carol Baskin, which is really messed up. And for Don Lewis, he married his first wife when she was 14? What? She was 14. How do you marry someone who's 14 years old? She's 14 and you're only 19. What the actual fuck? It's like, she's not even, and she and he were not even mentally, let alone physically mature enough for a fucking marriage. You have to be insane. And then of course you have the murder side of things, which is just insane. It's this like 20-year-old murder cold case. It's like I'm watching True Detective. The insanity continues on episode 4, Playing with Fire. At first we have the copyright lawsuits between Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin. Now that we think Carol Baskin is super evil and scary, now we have Joe Exotic, who is simply a friggin' egomaniac, a delusional egomaniac who would do anything shady and dangerous just to fight Carol Baskin. And he would film episodes after episodes, videos after videos, just talking about how much he wants to murder Carol Baskin. And of course, we have the copyright lawsuits, and then we have the studio arson. What in the fuck? So, this is a documentary, and in the documentary, there's another person who used to make documentaries for Joe Exotic, but for Joe Exotic only. His name is Kirkman, and he's supposed to film, the good side of Joe Exotic, oh yeah, he's the Tiger King, blah, blah, blah. And then the studio was burnt down, and not accidentally, of course. Somebody burnt it down, and then again, the directors of this documentary, of this show, sort of goes in depth who might have burnt it down. Maybe it's Kirkman himself, maybe it's Joe Exotic himself, maybe it's some random animal rights person. Nobody knows. Again, cold case, nobody found out anything yet. On episode 5, we are introduced to a new person by the name of Jeff Lowe, a hardcore criminal con man who, again, marries someone way younger than him, who is very power hungry, greedy, backstabbing snake, basically. And he's dangerous, and the way Joe Exotic partnered with Jeff Lowe, and then suddenly Joe Exotic bowed down to Jeff Lowe, and Jeff Lowe became the real actual owner of the zoo. And then, as if the insanity is not enough, we have Joe Exotic running for president. And of course he failed, and he can't wait for 4 years, so immediately afterwards he decided to run for governor of Oklahoma, which is just as insane. And then we have John Finley, who is one of the 2 husbands of Joe Exotic, who is actually not straight. And then the other husband of Joe Exotic is not straight either. And then there's this death scene in this episode. Yeah, there's a death scene. Holy shit. Episode 6 is also crazy. We have Jeff Lowe completely taking over the park and causing Joe Exotic to burn down everything, remove all the cages, ship away all the cats, burning all the documents. And then we have the whole snitching thing. Jeff Lowe planned to snitch to Carol Baskin and give Carol Baskin all of Joe's dirt. And then we have James Garretson, whom Jeff Lowe worked with. And James Garretson is this strip club owner, manager guy, and because he wanted to protect himself, he decided to become a rat. He decided to secretly work for FBI, and he uncovered this murder for hire plot, which is one of the main narratives of this story, when apparently, according to the evidence, Joe Exotic hired a hitman to kill Carol Baskin in Tampa, Florida. And the hitman is Alan Glover, who works for Jeff Lowe. And it just gets really complicated. Is it real or is it not? I mean, yeah, there's the evidence, but then maybe Jeff Lowe set Joe Exotic up. Maybe Joe is innocent after all. And then on episode 7, Joe got caught and he had to go through these trials. And it's like the big epic climax of the story where most of the characters return to testify against Joe, the main character. And of course, Joe lost. I mean, Carol Baskin went to court. Some of the people who worked for Joe, like Eric, went to court. And Jeff Lowe didn't testify against him, of course, because Jeff Lowe is, has done a lot of illegal things himself, and he didn't want to expose himself as well. And then all at the same time, we have Tim Stark, who is a ruthless gun-toting zoo owner as well. And he decided to work with Jeff Lowe, and they wanted to build another zoo in Oklahoma. And of course, Tim Stark and Jeff Lowe argued, and they had a fallout again. And then we have the epilogue where, after Joe Exotic got sentenced to 22 years in prison, where is everybody doing? What is their life now? And at the very, very, very end, maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes of episode 7, we sort of go back in time, and we go back to the early years of Joe Exotic, when he was still a good man with a kind heart who cares about animals, before he became corrupted, before he became a delusional egomaniac, before he started to only care about money and fighting Carol Baskin. And it's tragic, really, and it's also a very beautiful finish to the documentary. Though there is an episode 8, and episode 8 is called The Tiger King and I, and it's this 40-minute long segmented interview between host Joel McHale and essentially these people, which is really, really head-scratching for me. I mean, sure, it's not like Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel can just be like inviting, like Renke or Saf to go onto the show. Like, let's talk about your shitty, traumatic experience working for Joe Exotic. Of course, they wouldn't do that because it's kind of insensitive, really. So I guess this is the only way where an interview can take place again. But it's still really head-scratching. Also, one of the person being interviewed in the last episode is Jeff Lowe, the criminal con man, and the way the interview is being conducted it's almost like this fun, family-friendly, everything's all right aftermath kind of thing. And I just thought, what the hell? And also, apparently, Eric, I think, is still working for Jeff Lowe. What are you doing? Get out of there. Get out of there. Quit. Don't work for him. It's dangerous for you. Yeah. I guess that's kinda it. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm really impressed with Tiger King. I think pretty much every single episode, aside from the last one, is really intriguing, entertaining. The flow of these episodes are amazing. Tiger King is probably going to be one of the reasons why I begin to fall in love with documentaries, if I do. And yeah, the selection of video clips is amazing in this documentary. I want to say this: the editors of Tiger King are amazing. They are amazing. They have so many video clips to choose from. We have reenactments where the aspect ratio is changed. And then we have the video clips that they have, maybe, filmed from like a long time ago, screen recording of a news report. We have all these interviews, and the directors of this show conducted so many interviews. We see Renke with a mustache, Renke with a beard, and then Renke with no facial hair whatsoever. So you can tell that the directors probably went to these people, interviewing them like multiple times. Maybe after they learned one thing about this thing, they had to return to the interviewee and say, hey, let's conduct a second interview. Hey, let's conduct a third one. Let's conduct a fourth one. It's crazy. There's just a vast number of video clips to choose from, and the way the editors put these clips together is almost like mind-blowing. How did you find this video clip? Like, they would be talking about how, oh, maybe Joe Exotic hired Alan Glover, and then we would see video clips of Alan Glover on a motorcycle. How did you get that clip? Where did it come from? It's it's crazy, and it's insane. And also, one thing very admirable about this documentary is that it's not biased. It's neutral. It shows the dark, filthy side of pretty much everyone involved in the story, and it's neutral. And I guess if there's one thing that I also really love about this documentary is that it's bold. By producing and releasing this documentary, the directors and the producers are risking being sued. What if Carol Baskin found out, oh my God, this documentary is talking about my murder accusations. I'm going to sue this documentary. I'm going to sue Netflix. What if that happens? What if Jeff Lowe wants to sue Netflix? What if this person wants to sue Netflix? It's a bold choice to release a documentary about this, and it's just admirable. And yeah, this is one of the best TV experiences I've had in 2020, honestly. My favorite episode here is I don't know, probably episode 3, The Secret, or episode 6, honestly. It's like I'm watching a TV show, but it's real. Truth is stranger than fiction. And I am giving Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness a strong 8 to a light 9 out of 10. So, have you watched Tiger King? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.